Do you want to know what the most profitable Airbnb glamping structures are out there? I'm talking 70K, 80K, 100K from just one unit, and imagine if you get quite a few more. But here's the catch. Not every glamping structure is built to win. Some look cool on Instagram but can't make it through the winter. Others are super easy to build with a couple friends, but within a few weeks you have 3-star reviews and a structure that isn't even livable. But don't worry, I'm a glamping expert, and today I'm breaking down the top 10 glamping structures that you can use to start your business, ranked from worst to best, based on the ROI, guest experience, seasonality, and everything in between. Let's get into it. Running short-term rentals is constant work. Guest in, guest out, and you're still expected to be your own bookkeeper? I had multiple listings going and no real way to manage the money that was coming in. Between flipping beds and trying to match receipts from a payment a month ago, I couldn't even know if I was making real money. That's when I found Baselane. It's the official banking platform of BiggerPockets, and it handles all of the tracking and reporting I used to do manually. Now I can see real-time financial reports for each listing and know if there's a problem that's arising. For example, last month I had a 300% spike in my electric at one of my properties, and I realized that I needed to do something. I quickly set up a smart thermostat inside of it, and my electricity bill was cut almost in half. Thanks to things like Baselane, I avoided losing my profits and actually getting them back in my pocket. Start protecting your profits today by signing up at baselane.com/BP, and you'll get your $100 bonus right when you sign up. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bigger Stage channel. My name is Garrett Brown. I'm a short-term rental investor that specializes in glamping, and I'm also an officially published author now through BiggerPockets with the Glamping Investor, but we'll get into that a little later. I'm here to talk about my top glamping structures for Airbnb, VRBO, or whatever acronym you want to put in front of it to start that type of business from worst to best. I've looked into them all, and I've probably owned quite a few or even operate them now. This is a great blueprint even if you're building your first, 5th, or 15th glamping site, because all I do really all day is look at tiny homes, tents, and a bunch of other weird structures. I probably need to get a new hobby. Anyways, drum roll please. Let's get into it. Now, there are a ton of tiny home glamping structures out there that are options. So just because one of these may be at number 9 or 8 or anything like that, doesn't mean it's a terrible structure. There's a lot of people that probably use these type of structures and do very well with them. Just my personal preference. Don't come for me. If you do like this type of content and are enjoying anything short-term rental glamping related, please hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you like about this type of content, and we really appreciate you for being here. So, number 10, Lotus Bell Tents. They're cheap, they're fast to build, and they're great for testing land or a market for you. But the problem is they just do not last. You're lucky to make it through a full year with this thing surviving or at least holding up and looking like something presentable. So you're going to be constantly rebuying. It's a great low barrier to entry, but I think people think that they are more durable than they actually are. Guests tend to leave lower reviews. You're going to get a less ADR, average daily rate. People are going to pay less to be in this type of structure. So again, it's very, very low on the list, but I do know some people that are successful with them. Number 9, the next evolution of that right above it is safari tents. These are really cool. I've seen some really cool designs with some nice carpentry and construction to like make them even nicer. Again, it is just tough to keep these up to the climate and then also durable in these different types of climates. I see people having to redo these a lot. And even when you build them out with all of the structures and you make it really nice and get the super heavy duty material, you're going to be spending a good bit in the end. Now, I know people that are successful with them, but this is lower on my list. Number 8, shipping containers. People love the idea of a container home, and I have seen some of the most spectacular container home builds. The thing with container homes is they cost a lot. People think they are really, really cheap. If you're just getting a container, setting it on there and building out one could be on the cheaper side. But for these really crazy structures you're seeing, that takes a ton of architectural design work and engineering, takes a lot of welding and things that, cost more than typical construction workers. And they just tend to have a lot more problems. Have a lot of friends that have these, and through most of these structures for what you're going to pay, you're most likely going to end up with leaks and, insulation issues and stuff. But again, there are some people that crush it with these. I also personally think they're just a little bit overdone. But again, I've looked at them a few times and almost purchased one myself, but I ended up backing out for these similar reasons I'm saying. Number 7, yurts. Yurts are making a comeback. They probably were some of the first glamping structures that I can think of that a lot of people had. And there's, glamping sites that only have yurts. Again, they're very nice. They're insulated well. You can basically build a house within them. I have no issue with them. I just personally think from a marketing, Instagrammable standpoint, they do not stand out compared to the rest of the structures that I'm going to list. I almost went with a yurt as well when I was thinking of my first structures. I ended up not going with a yurt, and I went into actually number 6, which is geodomes. Geodesic domes, the big white bubble tents, whatever you want to call them. They're very popular. There's a lot of really cool things about them. The ceiling on them is huge because of how they're built. They're built like tanks too. Like if you get a good solid one from Pacific Domes or somebody like that that's built a lot of domes, mine has held up very well. Where you go wrong is when you get an Alibaba Express geodome that's made of plastic coating, steel, and the window fogs up within a few months because it's not built with the right quality vinyl that you need, and all the things that could go wrong with buying cheap. So that's one problem I see with geodomes. My other issue with my geodome, which I love it, I've made tons of videos about it. I'll link in the description below to that as well. Mine cost about $100,000 without utilities to build, with all the bells and whistles. We got hot tubs, saunas, all this to it. It cash flows quite well. Its gross revenue is about $90,000 a year. The hardest part with these is keeping them, the heating and cooling, and keeping the outside clean too, and just a few other just weird nuances to it. So I built mine up a little bit on a deck, and I didn't build a deck around it. So getting to the top of my 16-foot geodome, or however tall the top of it is almost impossible to clean. It's very hard to clean those outside surfaces. It's a lot of dirt. I've had a couple guests, accuse me of having black mold on them, which is not true. We clean them all the time and they're mold resistant, but they're just very hard to keep clean. It's just the honest fact about it. I'm in Houston, Texas, which is very hot. I didn't have the insulation liner to my dome for the first year that I had it. We had an AC unit inside. It did okay during August, which is like 100 something degrees out there. We didn't stand a chance, but I did get the insulation liner for about $8,000. It was not cheap, but it was the best $8,000 I spent. I love my geodome. I probably wouldn't build another one, especially on the luxury side, which is what I try to do more of. If I was going more economical, economical, I'm not sure. Keep this in. I'm pretty sure it's economical. What is ergonomical? Anyways, so if you're going on the economical side, these are a pretty good structure. They are pretty easy to put up. I would put it low on a super low deck or somewhere that's easy to clean them and not make the inside as nice and maybe have like a community bathroom. That's a totally different route than I wanted to personally go. I went the high-end luxury couples route. And so I had a bathroom inside, all these things. But it's held up very well, and I do love it. I just personally wouldn't build another one. Number 5, the classic A-frame. These are extremely popular. It's kind of what I wish I would have built instead of a geodome, to be honest, on my first one. But there's a ton of them out there too. I think there's more of those than geodomes possibly. But an A-frame is really cool. They photograph well. They always do well on Airbnb. People just tend to love them. And it has a lot of equity value to it when you build these type of structures. The issue with A-frames is they're not cheap. People think that they're going to be cheap, and then they end up spending a few $100,000 on these structures sometimes, especially the fancier you get. But there's a great return on equity on these. That's why it's higher on the list. It's kind of what I wish I would have built for my first one. Number 4, a tiny house on wheels. The key here is the wheels. Why do I say that? Some people are not going to like this because, just as my counterpoint to the A-frames, this is not adding any equity to your property except for the infrastructure that you put in, electrical, plumbing, sewage, all this type of stuff. That adds value to your property. People underestimate that. You're developing the land. The cool thing about the tiny house on wheels, they call them park models, and I'll use that term for the rest of this part, is that they're movable. So if you bring a couple to a site and do a little bit of work there and you just don't think it's the right market, move it to another place. The other thing is these are really easy to finance. Depends how you get into your land. For example, me, on my first glamping site, I have a mortgage on the property. I got it in 2021 when interest rates were insanely low. And so all the work I've done into it, I don't want to refinance out and be at a 7%, 7.5% interest rate right now. How can I get some of my funds back? How can I fund something else? Because it's very hard to get a second lien position from a lender. They don't usually want anything to do with that. So park models can be financed like an RV or almost like a car, basically. There's a few people out there. I can connect you with my guy that helped me do it, but just look up park model or RV financing. Or some of these tiny home companies might have a financing partner that they use. There's some really, really, really cool models out there right now. Pretty much all the cool tiny home places can put it on wheels as well and make it movable. And this also helps you skirt around the permitting process a little bit. It might be considered an RV. Talk to your county and your permitting department there to make sure, but this can help you get away from a lot of the permitting difficulties that could be in front of you as well, which is probably one of the biggest things. And I probably should have covered that a little more, actually. As I started to talk a little bit about it, like I have a script that I kind of go off of sometimes, but sometimes I kind of just start going on it, especially this topic, because I know so much about this. Do not underestimate the permitting abilities of these park models, because one of the biggest issues I hear with glamping entrepreneurs in general is that permitting is the toughest in a lot of areas. My area luckily wasn't as bad, but I also had a plan for that, which helps you roll into number 3. Treehouses, extremely popular. They are going to be more expensive than probably anything on this list most of the time. It takes a lot of architecture, it takes a lot of engineering, especially to do a good, safe one that is going to be permitted. This is probably one of the more difficult ones to actually get permitted, especially depending on how you're doing it and what area you're in. The cool thing about that is not everybody can build these. Not everybody wants to build these, and they perform amazingly on short-term rental websites and OTAs and things there, and for direct booking and Instagram and all that. And I'm talking a real tree house too, not just a house that's on stilts. I'm talking a real tree house that incorporates the trees of somehow really in the design of it. It's expensive to get these designed though, and they're usually a little more expensive to build. There are quite a few builders out there that do build tree houses around the country and will travel to you, but expect to pay a little bit. But these do hold their equity pretty well, especially depending on where you build, how you build, and how permitted it is. Keep rolling up. We're getting into some of my top 2 favorite ones by far. Number 2 is prefab cabins. There's a ton of tiny home cabin builders out there now, from similar to the ones I have, like the Oud Mirror House Company, which I have 3 of now. There's also Nordic and Spruce. There's Kodo Homes. There's Zook Cabins. I know I'm forgetting a few, and none of these are endorsing this. So I'm just, all the ones I've researched, there's a lot of really cool tiny homes. The Micro House, I just thought of that one. Do your homework, talk to other owners, try to go see these cabins, check them out, and see what you think about them if you're really serious. But the cool thing about the prefab cabins is these are very well built modular homes, for lack of better words, that are built in a factory, and you can forget all the headache of construction. These are really good for your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th structure on site, because then if you have a couple, you don't have to do a ton of construction. You can just usually bring this place on a trailer. They'll ship it to you somehow on the road, bring a crane, and then drop it on the piece of property that you have, and you're done within a couple days. Hook it up with your utilities and ready to rock and roll besides some decorating. That is a huge benefit in this. If it's your first place and you're not going really big up at first, maybe you could do something stick build or something that takes a little longer, but time is money sometimes. And some of these companies that I even mentioned, and there's a ton more out there, they can whip out products in a few months or even quicker if they have something ready to go. The last one, the one you've all been waiting for, number 1 is a 1-of-1 unit that is uniquely designed, and it is super unique. There's no other way to kind of put this. It's probably going to be the most expensive one there, depending on how you build it and who you build it with. But find a architect that sees your vision, that can bring a super unique structure to life, that's not going to break the bank. You're going to spend probably the most money on this list on this type of structure. Treehouse might be the only one that's a little more, maybe depending on how crazy the A-frame would be. But make sure that this is a 1-of-1 style cabin that people are not going to be able to get anywhere else, and that is just super Instagrammable, for a lack of better words. I don't know another way to put it. You need something that has just an amazing design to it with some amazing features that people see and are instantly just, mesmerized by. What that is completely up to you to figure out, and working with people that have the vision that you have as well. But you'll be able to get equity value out of this. You'll have something that nobody else can replicate. You'll be able to have what I like to call marketing gold, which is the better the product, the easier it is to market. You won't have to spend anything on this marketing budget if you build the right type of structure and it gets picked up by all these different people that want to come to it. But no matter what structure you choose, glamping is one of the best models out there to build real wealth in real estate and hospitality. It's a mix of both. And if you're serious about doing this, whether it's going to be your first unit or your 10th, I have the guide book for you. This is the Glamping Investor by me. It's all of the knowledge I have put into one simple book for less than a kava meal or a Chipotle burrito that you can get on the BiggerPockets bookstore or Amazon as well. Search the Glamping Investor. And this is everything I know, basically, from your purchase, how you purchase, where you purchase, the market, to marketing the property, getting the operations, the design, how you pick your structure, how you set it up for success. It's so much that when I wrote the book, every time I went back and actually read through it, I forget the amount of knowledge that I put in here that I need to re-implement into mine when I sometimes get a little lost in the shuffle. It's an amazing guide. I'm not saying that just because I wrote it, just because I know this is something I wish I had when I first started. I went to a lot of YouTube University, and it's still an amazing resource, but sometimes you just need somebody that has walked this journey before to give you the ins and outs and my wins and losses. I don't hold back on this. I'll put the link in the description to order the book, because by the time you watch this, it will be out. And I'm super appreciative if you watch this far. Please let me know what you think about the guide. If you have any questions, I'm here to be a resource for you. Let me know in the comments any other thing I can help with, and I'll see y'all in the next one.